Once again, let's factor the following completely. If the polynomial is not factorable, we're going to write prime. And as we take a look at the first problem, x squared plus 100, the thing that we need to notice is that it is a plus. And if I can write, it is plus here. And the fact that that's a plus means that this problem cannot be factored, and when something cannot be factored, it's considered to be prime. But as we look at problem number 2, luckily enough, what we see in this particular problem is that we do have a minus sign in between the two terms. And when we have a minus sign, and we can take the square root here, and we can take the square root there, we can factor this. Square root of 144 is 12. Square root of x squared is x. And notice that that gets written in the first spot of each parentheses. Square root of 1 is 1. And then difference between two squares, different signs. Again, if you've watched any of the previous videos, we do not have to have the minus first. I just tend to write it first. It's up to you. You may write 12x plus 1 and 12x minus 1. Problem number 3. We have a minus sign in both, and we can take the square root of 25. We can take the square root of 16, so we're good on that front. What's different on this one is we have a variable in both terms, but it's okay because we're going to start with our two parentheses, and then the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of x squared is x. Square root of 16 is 4. The square root of y squared is y. So we have both terms in there, and then one parenthesis gets a minus sign, the other parenthesis gets a plus sign, and it doesn't matter which one gets which. You could have the plus in the first parenthesis and the minus in the second. We need to keep in mind our different factoring techniques. The first one that we did this year in geometry is we did factoring the greatest common factor. And on problem number 4, we have a greatest common factor of 2. So we're going to start by taking out a 2. 2x squared divided by 2 is x squared. 32 divided by 2 is 16. And now we have it in a format where we can do the difference of squares, because we can take the square root of x squared, and we can take the square root of 16. We do want to write the 2. It is a factor. But when we take the square root of x squared, we get x. When we take the square root of 16, we get 4. And then we're going to have the different signs. One sign in each of the parentheses. Use your calculator if you must on these. X squared minus 69. Turns out that we can take the square root of both. We do have a minus sign. That's important. And the square root of x squared is x. Square root of 169 is 13. Difference between two squares, different signs. Again, don't forget the techniques that we've learned. And the techniques say that, do we have a greatest common factor? In fact, I should be asking that every single time I start when we factor. I forget to say it. But do we have a greatest common factor? We do. We have a greatest common factor of 5. It's the biggest number that divides into both terms. And 20x squared divided by 5 is 4x squared. 45 divided by 5 is 9. And now again, we have it in a format so that we could do the difference of squares. We're going to take the square root of those two terms. The 5 is a factor, and we'll write our two parentheses. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of x squared is x. Goes in both parentheses. Square root of 9 is 3. Goes in both parentheses. And there we've factored 20x squared minus 45. mixed practice for the remaining three. And our two techniques that we've learned. We've learned greatest common factor and we've learned difference between two squares. And first of all, just a reminder that this has 1, 2, 3 terms, so it can't be the difference of two squares because there's 3 of them. So let's start by trying to factor the greatest common factor. And when we do that, it looks like we have a greatest common factor of 4. And when we factor out a 4, we're taking 12x squared divided by 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3, x squared. 48 divided by 4 is 12x. By the way, if you struggle with dividing, use your calculator. If you don't have a calculator at home right now, use Desmos. But in Algebra 2, you're going to have to use a calculator. And finally, negative 16 divided by 4 is negative 4. And that's all we can do to factor on that particular problem at this time. When we look at number 8, we do have 2 terms. We do have a minus. So then the question becomes, is it the difference between two squares? And as I take a look, the question is, can we take the square root of 49x squared? Can we take the square root of 36? Because they are subtracted. But as we have seen on some previous problems, the square root of 49 is 7. The square root of x squared is x. Square root of 36 is 6. Difference between two squares, different signs. And there we've factored 49x squared minus 36. Last one, it might look a little bit confusing, but again, don't forget that we can deal with the greatest common factor. And I'm going to switch screens here. But when we factor the greatest common factor, not only do we have a greatest common factor of 7, that will divide into both 7 and 63, but with regard to our exponents, we're going to take the lowest exponent, which is going to be x. And when we factor that out, 7 divided by 7 is 1, x cubed divided by x. We had 3 x's, we took out 1, we still have 2. 63 divided by 7 is 9. We had 1x and we took it out. Now you might be thinking that we can keep going on this problem, but we actually have finished the factoring process. The only thing we can do on this particular problem is do the GCF. And the reason being is because this term right here, or this sign right there, is a plus. And in order to do the difference of squares, we have to have a minus.